Today on the program, OPEC and allies agree to ease deep oil output cuts from January by 500,000 barrels per day. Uganda approves environmental impact report for oil pipeline. And Ivorian cocoa farmers threaten to boycott programs in price war. Hello and welcome to Business Incorporated. I'm Chimizi Obi Iwagu. First, the intraday market numbers. The Nigerian stock market and the JSE index in South Africa moved sideways at intraday. On the Nigerian all-share index was down 0.59%, while the JSE index traded 0.47% positive. Elsewhere, Egypt's EGX30 closed Thursday trading in the negative with 0.08%, while in Nairobi Stock Exchange closed Thursday on the positive with 0.37%. In the Middle East, the markets closed Thursday with mixed indices. The Abu Dhabi index closed negative with 0.42%, while the Dubai financial market closed trading on Thursday with 0.82%. Meanwhile, the Qatari Stock Exchange ended Thursday on a positive note with 0.71%, and the Saudi Arabia stock market closed Thursday negative with 0.22%. And in Europe, markets advanced on Friday morning as investors monitor prospects of a U.S. stimulus package and the last-minute Brexit trade deal. But Conrad has been following the trend and now joins me now. Conrad, good afternoon. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Chimmy. Thank God it's Friday.
Thank God it's Friday. Anyway, financial markets have rallied worldwide on vaccine hopes, including in Frankfurt, where you are. How big is the risk for disappointment?
Of course, this risk is significant, and investors are not giving themselves a lot of margin, a lot of room for safety, given that so many prices on the equity markets are on such high levels, some indicators even on record levels, others like our German DAX here, not very far away from leading from record levels. And on the bond markets, for example, also more tellingly than the equity prices, junk bonds, very risky corporate bonds, very risky corporate bonds, their prices have surged as well. So obviously, not many investors out there are nervous about potential defaults on loans. So on this very high level, of course, every little hiccup in the rollout of the corona vaccine has the potential to cause a backlash or to make investors nervous. You mentioned the German index DAX, or our performance in Frankfurt here. Look at this. I think this, it's not even a curve, this graph, this zigzag sideways line indicates quite well what the mood is like on the trading floors. And on the week, the German DAX is also at the moment down a little bit.
Well, looking at those zigzag movement there on the DAX today, Germany's factory orders were updated. Now in October, they increased by nearly 3%. That's twice as much as economists had predicted. Why is this positive economic data not taken into account more by investors?
Well, one reason is that these are numbers from October, and that was the month before this partial lockdown started here in Germany and also in many of our neighboring countries. Stricter restrictions against the corona pandemic were implemented. That was in November. So those October numbers are not really giving hope that immediately business will have continued to increase. Still, I talked to a number of economists about this, and they told me that those strong factory orders for October are a sign to be hopeful about the coming months, because they indicate that worldwide global clients of German companies, many of our engineering firms, are willing to invest, they're willing to spend as soon as they can see that the pandemic is over. So these numbers, these factory numbers for the month of October, they're really giving a hint on what we can hope for in the real economy, not only financial markets, as soon as the pandemic is over.
Carrier Ryanair has has ordered 75 more units of Boeing 737 units MAX. How big is the discount in this deal?
Well, of course, neither of the companies, neither Boeing nor Ryanair, are giving out any details. So Michael O'Leary, who is Ryanair's boss, only says that he obtained a modest discount. If you talk to people here on the trading floors, they tell you that they're not sure whether Mr. O'Leary has the same, idea of what is modest as anyone else. The deal includes compensation for the fact that Ryanair was not able to fly the 737 MAX planes it already has in its fleet since March 2019. So it's conceivable that this is a significant sum being paid here, or that this is playing an important role in the price that Ryanair has to pay. Also, it has to be said, Michael O'Leary has a reputation of doing opportunistic orders for new planes. Nearly 20 years ago, after 9/11 happened in New York, and when airline traffic worldwide was really down, O'Leary placed a huge order for new planes. He actually changed the whole strategy of his company because of this opportunity. So it's likely that the discount was large. Normally, planes are sold at about half of the list price, and insiders and experts for the airline sector believe that Ryanair even got a stronger discount than that.
Now, Conrad, I can say, thank God it's Friday. I'm not sure if I'm going to see you again before Christmas, but I'm expecting Santa to come despite the coronavirus. For now, enjoy the weekend and be safe. And after a rough year, Britain's FTSE 100 looks set to end 2020 on the front foot. The blue chip index has jumped to a new 9-month high this morning as investors hope that 2021 will bring better economic times. Well, let's share this optimism with Simon. Hello, Simon. Good afternoon. FTSE 100 hit 9-month high this morning. What is driving this momentum, and is that sentiment still on this intraday?
Afternoon, Chimmy. Yes, after a rough year, as you say, Britain's FTSE 100 is ending 2020 on the front foot. As you say, it jumped to a 9-month high this morning. Investors perhaps thinking that 2021 may be a little bit better. The FTSE 100 gained 40 points, or 0.6%. That's its highest level since the first week of March, when coronavirus really kicked in, of course, and when the global markets went into meltdown due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The rally comes after news of the coronavirus vaccine was, of course, announced, Britain being the first to start using it. There are also hopes building for an imminent Brexit breakthrough and momentum building behind a new proposal for coronavirus stimulus bill in America. That may have also played a factor. And on the intraday, the FTSE is still the strongest among the major European markets. The all-share up 0.69%, the FTSE 100 up slightly more at 0.72%, and the FTSE 200 up around the same amount. Taking a look at sterling, which has been sort of swinging back and forth in some seesaw trading recently, well, the pound notched up a one-year high against the dollar at around 1.349 after Ireland's Foreign Minister Simon Coveney said there was a good chance a Brexit deal could be struck within days. However, I did mention seesaw trading, and in the intraday, the pound has dropped once again. It is down very slightly on the dollar, down too by 0.18% on the euro, and only slightly up on the yen.
Well, looking at the whole thing, perhaps that's a sign that Santa will eventually visit despite COVID-19. Anyway, UK construction orders surging, but supply chains struggle and job cuts continue. What does that say?
Yeah, Britain's construction industry grew faster than expected last month, boosted by the strongest orders since 2014 amid a boom in house prices. That's according to a survey today. New orders in the construction industry were the highest since October 2014 last month, but I think this may be more due to the previous months being so bad and the sector needing to catch up on some older projects that were in the works, as well as some welcome announcements from the Chancellor giving tax breaks to encourage new house building. So I think it's those reasons more than than anything else, really. Employment in the sector, as you said, continues to fall, though by the smallest amount since February, before the start of lockdown. A reminder, most of the job losses being seen in the UK is hospitality and retail right now, with two of the country's best-known retailers collapsing, putting 25,000 jobs at risk in less than 24 hours. But construction industry, as you say, looking a little bit brighter today.
And with Brexit talks still on and the coronavirus vaccine distribution plans on the table, what's the outlook for next week?
Yeah, so all eyes on Brexit, of course. It depends really on which rumour or blog or newspaper or Twitter feed you're following as to what is actually happening with those Brexit negotiations. The first coronavirus vaccines from Pfizer are supposed to be going out next week, so it'll be really interesting to see how the markets react to that. Also, US-China relations may be back on the agenda next week too. According to reports, the US Department of Justice is discussing a possible deal with Huawei's finance chief Meng Wanzhou, and obviously I'd keep a look on President Trump's Twitter feed, as that always has the potential to rattle the markets either way. But here in the UK, two things: those coronavirus vaccines and how well they end up being distributed, and those all-important Brexit talks and whether there will be a deal. It really does depend who you listen to. You know, any given moment, one person can be saying, yeah, it looks like we're going to get a deal, and someone else will come out and say it's looking unlikely. But time is definitely running out. So over this weekend and next week, I think the markets will really be reacting to that.
Well, Simon, I'm sure you'll spend most of your time this weekend keeping an eye on those developments there, and we will talk about that on Monday morning. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. And stocks in Asia Pacific were mostly higher Friday trade as the Pentagon added more Chinese firms to a blacklist of alleged Chinese military companies. Mainland Chinese stocks closed higher, even though the saw losses during the trading day. The Shanghai Composite is up slightly and closed at 3,444 points, while the Shenzhen Component advanced 0.4% to end the day. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index finished its trading day 0.4% higher. Elsewhere in Asia, South Korea's Kospi led gains among the region's major markets and jumped 1.31%. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 slipped 0.22%. While the Topics finished its trading day slightly higher. Shares in Australia edged higher on the day. The S&P ASX 200 gained 0.28%. And stock futures in the U.S. rose early Friday as investors awaited a key November jobs report to gauge the pace of labor market recovery in the face of a worsening pandemic. Futures on the Dow Jones Industrial Average implied an opening gain of about 100 points. S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq 100 futures also both traded slightly higher. The rate of job gains likely slowed in November due to the spike in new coronavirus cases that led to fresh lockdown restrictions. The latest weekly jobless claims hit a pandemic-era low. First-time claims for unemployment benefits totaled 712,000 last week, compared with 787,000 a week earlier. And after days of tense discussions, OPEC and non-OPEC allies have finally agreed to increase production by 500,000 barrels per day beginning in January. This will bring the total production cuts at the start of 2021 to 7.2 million barrels per day. Ahead of the meeting, OPEC and its partners, known collectively as OPEC Plus, were widely expected to extend the current production cut of 7.7 million barrels per day through at least March. Talks were suspended on Tuesday, and after it became clear they were unable to reach a compromise. In the meantime, oil prices jumped around 2% on Friday, heading for a fifth week of gains as major producers agreed on a compromise to continue some cuts to production to cope with coronavirus-hit demand, even though these fell short of expectations. Brent was up $1.04 a barrel at $49.75 a barrel after gaining around 1% on Thursday. West Texas Intermediate rose 84 cents to stand at $46.48 a barrel. OPEC and Russia on Thursday agreed to ease the oil output cuts from January by 500,000 barrels per day, but failed to come to a compromise on a broader policy for the rest of the next year. And Uganda has approved an environmental impact assessment for a planned oil pipeline, bringing closer the start of its construction. The National Environment Management Authority issued an approval certificate to Total East Africa Midstream BV for the project. The clearance is for the Ugandan section of the East African crude oil pipeline, which is about 296 kilometers of the 14,043 kilometer conduit. Total SA is leading the development of the $3.5 billion pipeline from Uganda's oil fields in the west of the country to Tanzania's Tanga ports. The Jack Ma Foundation announces the winners of its 2020 Africa's Business Heroes Awards, and the Nigerian came second. Oluwasegun Oni, CEO and co-founder, Murders Global. Next. The Africa's Business Heroes Prize, now in its second year, is a flagship philanthropic program created by the Jack Ma Foundation's Africa Entrepreneur Prize initiative, part of a 10-year commitment to support and foster Africa's entrepreneurial ecosystem. Let's meet the Nigerian man who came second in this competition and goes home with a sum of $250,000 grand prize. Oluwasegun Oni, CEO and co-founder, Murders Global. Thank you for joining us, Shoga. Well, I'm finding it difficult to pronounce your name. I'm sorry about that. That's Shoga, right? Congratulations.
Oluwasegun.
Oluwasegun. Absolutely. Congratulations. Now tell us what this competition has been like for you and what for you stood out from perhaps other Nigerians that participated.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This competition was amazing. It was challenging. It was very, very competitive. And we're just so privileged to be one of the winners of this competition. I think that one of the things that we have learned how to do is tell our own story. And I think that one of the things that shines through the several rounds we have to go through for this competition is that we're able to tell the story of the business, the kind of business we're trying to build. And I think one thing that also resonated with the judges is that the deep impact in society. We're an organization who builds, operate tech-enabled diagnostic facilities. And we're targeting tier 2, tier 3 cities in Nigeria and hopefully across Africa. The depth of the impact of what we're building, and combined with the narrative we tell about what we build, was what helped us out. And we're absolutely privileged to be one of the winners of this competition.
Now, what lessons would you say you have learned from it, and how can you replicate that towards the growth and development of the country?
Yes, I think that this competition was a competition we participated in the middle of a pandemic. And this competition was 8 months long and several rounds of interview with different judges, including an audit of our financials. I think that one of the things that we were able to do here was to kind of like adapt at each level. And also remember, this was a time where, you had the protest and everything going on in Nigeria. So we had to adapt at each stage, at each stage of the competition. We had to adapt. And I think that the ability to adapt is a very important trait for any entrepreneur in Nigeria and across Africa. So that's what I would say to that.
Now, what do you plan to do with this grant of yours?
Yes. So this grant is well spoken for at the moment. We are an organization that build and operate diagnostic centers. And so we are going to use this grant to build at least 3 or 4 more diagnostic centers, also in tier 2, tier 3 cities in Nigeria. So we really want to continue to do the work we do. We want to build more of these locations, and we bring like really high quality diagnostics to these communities. And we want to find more communities that need the kind of diagnostics we provide, and we want to let them have it.
Now, you are in the health sector. And of course, this is all about entrepreneurial development in Africa. So what advice do you have for entrepreneurs in Nigeria, particularly startups, not necessarily in the health sector, but other sectors, considering the difficult operating environment we have here in the country?
Yes, Nigeria is a very difficult place to do business in. But I think that what I would say to all entrepreneurs out there is to not give up, to always make sure that they find a compelling problem to solve and kind of focus on solving that problem in very meaningful ways. Find a unique value proposition and kind of like just kind of give it your best. And you know, when we started, we went through a lot of ups and downs, and we were able to navigate everything. And when we needed to pivot our business to something else, we had to do that. And that's what I would tell any entrepreneur out there. You know, go out, solve a really important problem in society. And if you need to change the business a little bit to account for your context, please do that and never give up.
Thank you very much, Olua Sugar. Continue to shine. Thank you. We appreciate your time and congratulations once again.
Thanks for having me.
And Ivory Coast cocoa farmers have threatened to withdraw their participation from sustainability programs run by major buyers to pressure them to pay a premium on the crop. Chocolate companies, including Hershey Corporation and Mars Incorporated, have been accused of trying to skirt a $400 a ton charge introduced for this season aimed at raising farmer incomes. Meanwhile, buyers continue to spend on programs that allow their products to earn certifications that show their cocoa has been grown outside protected forests and without the use of child labor. Mars and Hershey have denied that they've tried to avoid paying the premium known as the living income differential. The comments show that farmers are taking the side of the regulator in a price dispute that's pitted the world's top producers against processors and chocolate makers and roiled the futures market. And South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has reimposed several curbs aimed at containing the coronavirus pandemic in one of the nation's biggest municipalities, which is battling a second wave of infections. At 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., curfew will be reinstated in Nelson Mandela Bay in the Eastern Cape province. Alcohol sales will only be permitted from Monday to Thursday in the municipality, a restriction that was lifted nationwide in August, while the consumption of alcohol in public spaces will be forbidden. South Africa introduced one of the world's most stringent lockdowns on March 27 and progressively eased it to restart the economy as the number of new virus cases declined. The trend has reversed over recent weeks in several areas, with hospitals battling to cope with surging admissions. And that's a wrap on the program for today and, of course, for the week. Thank you for watching. I'm Chimezie Obi Iwagu.